Everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Stirring It Up with Tierra Monique, Kitchen Table Talk. And on today's segment of political news, Mahdi Hassan is at the table. So let's sit back and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Good evening. I'm Mahdi Hassan. It was one of the most frightening assaults on U.S. territory in the nation's history. It was perpetrated not by a foreign communist army or an ISIS terrorist cell, but by a Midwestern CEO, a retired fighter pilot, a West Texas florist, a construction worker, an IT worker, and hundreds more like them.
What?
The more time that passes since the Capitol was stormed Wednesday, the more disturbing details we learn about what transpired, how it was planned, and how much more could have gone terribly wrong. Make no mistake, it was bad, but it could have been so much worse. Consider Lonnie Leroy Kaufman from Falkville, Alabama. On Wednesday, as police responded to reports of explosives on the Capitol grounds, they noticed Kaufman's red truck and what appeared to be a gun on the seat. In the truck, according to charging documents, they found a handgun, an automatic rifle, ammunition, and 11 glass jars containing improvised napalm. Yes, napalm. When they arrested Kaufman, he had 2 more guns on him. Napalm, remember, was devised by US scientists in World War II to stick like glue and burn like gasoline. A Trump supporter drove 750 miles to the nation's capital with napalm and 4 loaded firearms.
That's crazy.
Then there was Eric Munchell, a Tennessee man known as the zip tie guy, after he was photographed allegedly storming the Capitol in full tactical gear with bunches of zip tie handcuffs. Authorities say he traveled from Nashville with his mother and is now in FBI custody. After the assault, his mother told a newspaper reporter, quote, "This country was founded on revolution." What do you think the zip ties were for?
What the?
A day before the uprising, this message was posted to a popular bulletin board for Trump supporters. Quote, "The Capitol is our goal. Everything else is a distraction. Every corrupt member of Congress locked in one room and surrounded by real Americans is an opportunity that will never present itself again." Below that, comments like, "Mind the exits," "Storm Congress," and, quote, "The final solution is the only solution." Black Capitol police officers told BuzzFeed News that they were set up for failure by their bosses and overwhelmed by organized elements in that far-right mob. Quote, "That was a heavily trained group of militia terrorists that attacked us," one veteran officer said. "They had two-way communicators and earpieces. They had bear spray. They had flashbangs. They were prepared."
Are you hearing this?
A far cry from the red-hatted, rowdy crowd who dominated our TV screens last Wednesday. But incredibly, as the siege raged and images of blood on the Capitol steps reached viewers nationwide, the director of the U.S. Army staff repeatedly denied pleas for National Guard troops from D.C. and Capitol officials telling them, quote, "I don't like the visual of the National Guard standing a police line with the Capitol in the background." Inside the Capitol, some officers and their quick thinking may have prevented the killing or kidnapping of dozens of lawmakers. The HuffPost politics reporter Igor Bobik captured this video that we aired last week of one Capitol police officer retreating with an angry mob in tow. But now we learn that to that officer's left, was an unlocked entrance to the U.S. Senate floor, where senators and staffers were still several minutes away from being evacuated. That officer kept the mob's attention by shoving its leader, by gesturing with his baton, and bravely leading them away from the Senate door. So it was bad, really bad, and it could have been much, much worse. In fact, federal authorities now warn that it still may be. The FBI alerting police around the country today that armed protests are possible at the capitals of every state in the union in the lead up to Joe Biden's inauguration, with one group warning online that there would be a huge uprising if Congress tries to remove Trump via the 25th Amendment. The only problem with that, law enforcement officials point out that Congress can't remove a president via the 25th Amendment. Nobody said the new crop of domestic terrorists was smart, but they are dangerous. And so far, compared to what could have happened, came so close to happening, America has been very, very lucky. Joining me now is Igor Bobik, HuffPost senior politics reporter and the cameraman for that gripping video inside the Capitol as the siege unfolded. Igor, thanks so much for taking time out to come on the show. We have to talk about this video first. Walk us through that. What's happening in it? And when you realized to yourself that police officer may have saved the lives of a bunch of senators and staffers.
Yeah, so this heroic police officer, really, I had no idea how close we came to disaster. At the moment when I had actually recorded it, it was only days later when I realized that the Senate doors themselves were not sealed, possibly even seconds before this police officer ran up these stairs with a white mob at his back. And you could see in the video, he sort of places himself in the door frame and pushes the lead rioter away from the most immediate Senate entrance and leads them away to the other side of the chamber where he's got backup behind him coming through, and that's where they held them for a good period of time. So really, he may have made the difference between much bigger catastrophe, really, that day.
Yes, indeed. That's what it's looking like now. It's an amazing story, amazing pictures. And here's Congressman Tim Ryan, Democrat from Ohio, Igor, talking with reporters today about consequences already for Capitol Police. Have a listen.
I know that there were 2 people suspended. One was the selfie officer, and another was an officer who had put a MAGA hat on and started directing some people around. I don't know if letting them in, letting them out, exactly what it was.
NBC News hasn't confirmed that yet. But Igor, your thoughts on this kind of, on the one hand, you have Capitol Police basically being heroes. One of them, we know about getting killed with a fire extinguisher, sadly. And on the other hand, some Capitol Police officers being accused of complicity.
Yeah, I mean, if true, if this guy actually led around and showed around the protesters with the MAGA hat on, in my opinion, he should be fired right away. There shouldn't be an investigation into that if there's footage showing that. On the other hand, as you said, there are a lot of heroic police officers who did their duty and went above and beyond. So I think really there's a lot of questions, and the biggest frustration right now, one of the biggest frustrations, is that we're not getting answers from the Capitol Police. We're not getting answers from the FBI. Yep. There's been no briefing from any sort of federal agent
Exactly.
yet. We're learning this on the fly from
no
members
transparency.
of Congress. We're briefing us on various different things. It's extremely frustrating days after the attack not to have any sort of comprehensive information.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's almost unprecedented. One of the most verbose administrations in history suddenly going all quiet when it's their supporters carrying out the violence. Some of Senator Mitch McConnell's aides told the Washington Post that they dove into one office, barricaded the door with furniture, and quietly called anyone they thought might help as Trump supporters rampaged through the hallways. What was it like for you being in the building in that moment?
It was terrifying. It was terrifying for me. I've covered Capitol Hill for years now, and I've never gone through anything like this. And my biggest fear now is that this is only the start. That's my biggest concern. These guys who had stormed the Capitol, it wasn't just a couple of hundred of them. They were streaming this out to thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of extremists and fanatics. And now what you're seeing on the Hill is an extreme show of force. I'm here now at the Capitol, and there are hundreds of National Guard troops patrolling the hallways and outside the building. And so I think what you're going to see is preparations for January 20th, and that's the next kind of point of concern for us.
I think it's going to go.
You're right, that is the next concern. This is not going away anytime soon. Igor, is there a danger here, though? We're talking about just last week, in the way these revelations are coming out about the attack, that many Americans will just move on from this. I mean, a lot of people who are extremely online, aren't aware of everything we're learning now, aren't following every up and down of the news cycle like those of us who work in news or watch news endlessly.
They're going to keep this
They don't know about the planning or the nooses or the pipe bombs. They just saw a crowd on Wednesday go a bit crazy. They don't realize how close we came to a kind of massacre or hostage-taking situation, how close we came to like a domestic terrorist attack on a successful domestic terrorist attack on members of Congress inside Congress.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's why I think it's so important that we do get the message out. And there are, almost daily, we're learning new details every day. There's new videos coming out, more horrific by the next. I saw that police officer getting dragged out of the Capitol and beat by an American flag. It's horrific, and everybody needs to know what happened. And you're already seeing some far extreme people saying that this was staged, that this was fake news. And this is kind of part of the
No,
playbook
wasn't
now.
staged.
And it's our job to really make sure that the public
I don't
and that the
understand it,
world
though.
knows what happened.
Yeah. And I have to ask, just before I let you go, you mentioned you're back there in Congress, you're on Capitol Hill. How does that feel? That must be a weird sensation to be back there in those corridors after seeing what you saw last Wednesday. You mentioned earlier you've been a congressional correspondent for a while, you're a politics reporter. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're not a former foreign correspondent or a war reporter. You've probably never been in a situation like that before, I'm guessing.
No, I have not. A lot of people have reached out to me saying that I should, take some time and decompress. But walking around today has been eerie. There's still traces of broken glass, bottles everywhere. It's hard to believe we're just going to move on from this. I at least think that it's going to be a huge, horrific shame if we move on. There's got to be accountability.
There has
and I
to
hope
be.
it happens.
There has to be.
Indeed, there has to be. There really does. Igor, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you taking time out. Hi, I'm Mehdi Hassan.
This is an honor that a lot wouldn't pass up, but I guess it shows just how remarkable, Willie, the events of the last week have been.
Yeah, when we saw this on the schedule this week, a lot of people wondered, my gosh, after what happened on Wednesday, is Bill Belichick really going to step forward and accept a medal from President Trump? He came out yesterday and put out that statement.
All right, everyone, that does it for this edition of Stirring It Up with me, Tara Monique. And as you know, we always enjoy your comments, so please leave a comment. And if you enjoyed the video, do hit the like and subscribe to become a friend. Because as you know, this is a baby channel, and we are trying to grow, and we do need you to help us in that effort. So sharing is caring as well. And until next time, and there will be a next time, take care of yourself. Bye.